Alright guys, so it's been a while since I made a Corolla video, and that is because I was driving this for a few weeks after I did the transmission swap, and everything was going good, and then I noticed that, it's going to be really hard to tell, but I noticed that it looks like there is some transmission fluid leaking on one of the axles, so I want to see where it's actually leaking at, if it's leaking on a spot where I replaced the axle seal or not. But let's jack this car up and take a peek at it. Alright, so let's dive under here and take a look at this axle and see where all this fluid's coming from. Alright, so I don't know if you can tell how wet everything is underneath here. We're definitely leaking from somewhere up over in this region. So I'm going to try to wipe everything up and try to source where this leak is at. So looking around in here, I don't see anything super obvious. It's just everything is just somewhat coated in like a thin layer of oil. There is like a decent amount on just like everything in this general area. I mean, there was some over here, all on the control arm, and then there's like a decent amount on the actual boot, but where I was expecting it to be leaking, it doesn't look like there's like any leaking going on the seal back there. Because I mean, like when I touch the bottom of it, it's like completely dry. Like, I don't think it's coming from the seal, which I originally thought it was, because I did replace that, but I mean, I don't know where else it could really be leaking, but it definitely is leaking somewhere, but nothing that I see like drastically. And it's weird because it's like more on the suspension over here than it is over by the transmission. But if you guys can think of a spot where this would be leaking, let me know down below. But like the transmission literally seems dry. Because like I said, some of the most was like right on the bottom of the transmission. Because I just hope the case isn't actually leaking or cracked somewhere. But like the most oil that I did see was like right around here, and that's where it was like the thickest, and you could actually see like a drop. But all the rest of this, it's like dry, so I don't know exactly where it would be leaking from. But let me keep doing some investigating and see if I can find anything. So getting a closer view of the axle, there is like no fluid around it. I mean, and the more I look at it, like the actual tie rod boot actually looks to be like the wettest thing around here. And I don't know if that could be it. I don't think my axle's leaking. I don't think it's leaking from the axle, but the fluid that was around the transmission is also kind of worrying as well. I mean, the fill plug seems pretty good. I mean, I'm gonna probably give the drain plug a decent tightening again just to make sure that it's not leaking. But I just think it's like leaking and it's just flinging around, and it's hard to actually pinpoint where it's coming from. But I think I'm just going to level the car out. I'm going to double check the fluid in the transmission is pretty much where it's supposed to be, and then I'm just going to keep an eye out on it and see. But I don't know if you guys can tell, like that boot looks to be the wettest out of everything around here, so I'm thinking that maybe it's the boot there. But overall, I don't see anything else leaking. I turned my wheel all the way, and like I said, the fluid on here seems to be the most. I don't know. I mean, I was starting to read a little bit. I believe this has electronic power steering because obviously there is no power steering fluid reservoir. But I don't know if these systems are closed and have some type of hydraulic fluid in them or not. But this is like where most of it seems to be coming from. But I could be wrong. I don't see anything else leaking. Like I said, right around the boot over here too. I mean, the boots seem to hold the most fluid on them. And I mean, it smells like transmission fluid. That's where I'm getting even a little bit more confused about this. Because I don't see any active leak. Just a bunch of residue. Well, I think I actually might have found the leak. There's a port up here that I was actually missing a screw. That is actually interesting. So I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but right here there is like an open hole, and it had some fluid coming through it. So I almost think that it's coming through there, but I don't know what it is. I do know, like, when I was cleaning this transmission up, I was like taking bolts from one and swapping them over to the other one, but I don't see it on this transmission, so I don't see any, but it's literally just like an open port on the transmission. I don't know if I just didn't see it when I was installing it or what, but I honestly think that's where the leak is coming from. So now I have to do a little bit of research and figure out what is supposed to be there. I mean, the car drove fine, so I could just be like just an open screw port. But yeah, there's definitely fluid coming from that. I found another picture of a 6-speed, and I'm looking at it. So you have like one drain plug here, and then you have like a solenoid over here, and then right up over here, that hex bolt right there is the one I'm actually missing. And it looks like another drain plug, fill plug type of thing. And so as I was showing, you have the one here, you have that solenoid right here, and then back here, which you won't really be able to see, but and now if I grab the drain plug or a fill plug from the other one, that literally threads right in. So now I need to do a little bit more research. This is the fill plug, and then the drain plug is literally a hex nut underneath that. I don't know what that is, if that is just another service port or if it's supposed to be a fill. I just definitely need to do some research on that. So, but that will probably fill up my that will definitely be my issue. I'm glad that it's not like a leaking boot or anything like that. But like I said, after doing some research, I don't think this can leak fluid because this has no power steering. So let me just figure out the 6-speed maintenance on how to actually maintain a 6-speed, and if anybody talks about that other port back there. Otherwise, I'm just going to probably keep that fill port there for now. But no, this is the fill port, and the drain plug is right down below. Alright, and another thing, I was actually pulling up some of my old video on when I installed this. You can tell that there was a bolt there. I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but there was a bolt there, and it looks like a fill plug or a drain plug or whatever. I'm not sure what happened. It must have came loose or something, or it was never tight. So that definitely is probably the source of where all this oil is coming from, and it would make sense why I don't see any oil on where the axle seal is, but I see where the oil is literally just falling onto the boot here, onto the CV axle boot, and then just flinging it back here and then just flinging it around, because that's literally just dripping right on top of it. So I'm gonna put that bolt there, I'm gonna snug it up really good, and we're gonna call this a day, and then we'll take this thing for a drive and just make sure. I am still gonna double check the fluid, make sure everything is level and good, because I don't know how much fluid I lost. I did seem to lose a decent amount of fluid, so let's clean this up and actually fill this up with some fluid now. Alright, so I got that bolt tight, as well as tried to clean up everything as good as I can. I just want to make sure if I do have another leak, or if that's not the leak, I'll be able to find it pretty easily. So that's why cleaning up everything and getting rid of any oil residue is always a plus. So now I'm going to level the car, and then we're going to break this drain or fill plug and see how much fluid I need to add. Alright, so I just got the car leveled, and let's crack this open. So I'm obviously not going to expect any fluid to come out of here, but I'll keep a rag under there just in case. Alright, well, I don't feel any fluid, so, but let's start pumping some in. Alright, so this is actually pretty low compared to what I had thought. So I'm hoping that it doesn't take any more than a quart, because I mean that's about half of the transition. Oh, I am starting to finally see it drip out. Alright, so we're pretty full here. So it was probably about a half quart low. So let's just hurry up and get this. Because then if you guys don't know, on manual transmission or gearboxes in general, you literally just fill them up from the drain plug until they start leaking, and that's when you know they're full. Alright, I was actually surprised that this funnel worked, because I couldn't find my tube pump that I usually use for this, but it looks good. I'm just going to also snug up the drain plug just to make sure that there's nothing else leaking. And then we'll go for a little test drive and just make sure the car's, obviously it was functioning fine. I just had a little leak, but you always got to go on a test drive after you fix something, right? Alright, so I just got everything snugged up. So let's give her a start, make sure she starts up good. I actually did put this car on a battery tender because it was sitting for a while, so, and the battery was actually dying. But now let's start this up, make sure everything, and it's still, oh my God. I guess the battery tender was not good enough. After a little bit of time waiting at AutoZone, I finally got a new battery, so everything's connected. Let's start it right up, and let's make sure everything is good. Alright, no problems. I was a little worried about the voltage, but it's at 14.5 volts now. But before, with the old battery, it seemed like it was reading very, very low. I don't know if the battery wasn't charging properly, but let's let this warm up a little bit and then we'll go take it for a drive. And I didn't even know I had a full tank of gas either, so let's go. Alright guys, and I also got this awesome air compressor sent to me from Airmoto. I'm going to set this up and make sure all my tires are set to 35 PSI because this car's been sitting for 3-4 weeks and I know the tires start running flat. So this thing is really nice, convenient. You literally just set the PSI that you want. And I'm gonna set it to 35. I have the car adapter nozzle already on. So right now, as you can see, the car is reading 29.5. So let's fill this up. All you gotta do is just turn it on. So while that thing fills up, I just want to tell you a little bit more about it. That thing can obviously fill up car tires, but it can fill up bike tires, basketballs, everything that you can think of that a normal air compressor could fill up. They send you pretty much every adapter. Every adapter that you would want, as well as a little carrying case to keep this in your car. So this thing is very lightweight, compact, and it works pretty good for what it is. It does take a little bit to fill up some tires, but if you're not in a rush, and this will just easily fix that low tire pressure monitor or whatever comes onto your car, this will literally fill it up within a few minutes on each tire. And if you guys are interested in picking up one of these little compressors, I will put a link down below as well as a discount code, so that way you guys can pick up your own. But like I said, not quick, but it's efficient and it's good enough to get you through that little low tire pressure so you don't have to go to a gas station or have an annoying big compressor at your house. So just one of those things you can just keep in your car and forget about it until you need it. You know something, I don't usually take this car on the highway much, but it honestly feels good to have that 6th gear. There's not as much drone as I thought there would be. There's probably almost more road noise than there is actual drone. It's kind of like a nightly rain drive right now. So Alright, so I just got back and the car seems to be running pretty good, no issues, but I just want to double check that we are not leaking any fluid. And it's kind of hard to tell because it's raining outside, so, but I do see some water down there, but it doesn't look oily, so I'm gonna assume everything looks pretty good. I'm gonna keep an eye out on it for the next couple of days and just make sure that everything seems to be working pretty good. So, but thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are new, don't forget to smash your like button, subscribe to the channel, especially if you want to see more Corolla content like this. And I'll see you guys next time.